Most people walk through life carrying a mind that's already full of opinions, beliefs, fears, and expectations. They move from one moment to the next, trying to force reality to fit into what they already think they know. But to truly see, to truly grow, you must first let go. Empty your cup, not once, not twice, but every single day. Because the mind, like a cup, becomes stagnant when it holds on too long. What was useful yesterday might be the very thing that limits you today. To empty your cup is to let go of ego. It is to drop the belief that you've arrived, or that there's nothing left to learn. That belief is the enemy of mastery. The world is constantly changing, and if you do not change with it, you become stuck in the past, stuck in habits that no longer serve you. So release what you think you know, even if it once brought you success. Success is not a place to stay. It is a moment to pass through. Clinging to it only blinds you to what comes next. Do not confuse emptiness with lack. This is not about having nothing. It is about making space. Just as you breathe out before breathing in, you must release the old before receiving the new. If your mind is already occupied, there is no room for insight. But when you clear it, even for a moment, clarity enters like a sudden breeze on a hot day. That is when new understanding reveals itself, not forced, but welcomed. Too many live trapped inside their own conclusions. They argue not to learn but to defend. They listen only to reply, not to understand. This is the fullness that leads to blindness. Instead, adopt the beginner's mind. A mind that is curious, open, and humble. Even in mastery, remain a student, because there is always something deeper, something unseen just beneath the surface. When you empty your cup, you let go of attachments. You let go of needing to be right. You let go of needing control. And in doing so, you become more aware, more present. You begin to act not out of reaction, but from stillness. Your decisions become sharper, your movements more fluid, your words more precise. You are no longer led by what was, but guided by what is. So each morning, empty your cup. Let go of yesterday's victories and failures. Let go of who you were, so you can meet who you are becoming. Carry nothing into this moment that does not serve your highest expression, and watch how everything begins to shift the moment you decide to let go. The mind that refuses to adapt is the first to break. Life doesn't always meet you with a straight path. It twists, it turns, it throws obstacles where you least expect them. And if you meet these challenges with a rigid mind, one that insists on control, one that refuses to bend, you will be defeated not by the size of the problem, but by your own resistance to it. But if you allow yourself to flow, to move with what is rather than against it, you begin to understand a deeper kind of strength, one that does not shout, but simply endures. Imagine a stream finding its way down a mountain. It does not argue with the rocks. It does not stop and complain when the path is blocked. It simply flows, around, through, over. Quietly, patiently, it moves forward. That is how your mind must be. If your energy is tied up in resisting what is, you have already lost your focus. But if you shift, adapt, respond instead of react, you remain in control without forcing control. True strength is not stiff. True strength is flexible, and flexibility is not weakness. It is intelligence. It is the awareness to know when to yield and when to stand firm. To yield is not to surrender. It is to conserve your power. It is to wait for the right opening, to avoid unnecessary conflict, to live another day. And when you do strike, you do so with precision, not panic. So when life throws you something unexpected, do not harden your mind. Feel the moment. Sense its shape. Move with it like a dancer sensing rhythm. The obstacle is not your enemy. It is an invitation to see how well you have trained your mind to remain balanced in chaos. That's the difference between those who panic and those who adapt. Between those who collapse and those who rise without struggle. One is fighting reality. The other is working with it. It takes great discipline to stay soft in a world that demands you to be hard. But it is the softness that survives the longest. Not because it lacks force, but because it does not waste force. It uses only what is needed and never more. That kind of efficiency, mental and physical, is what leads to mastery. It is what separates motion from meaning, effort from power. So when the unexpected comes, and it will, do not resist, do not freeze, flow. Let your mind adjust like water in a new vessel. Let your body move like wind over the edge of a blade. And you will find yourself moving forward, not because you forced your way through, but because you became what the moment needed. The greatest noise you'll ever face is not out there in the world. It's within your own mind. Thoughts crashing into each other like waves in a storm, worries stacking on top of fears, questions drowning out clarity. And when that noise takes over, even the most skilled lose their way. It doesn't matter how much you've trained, how sharp your instincts are. If your mind is cluttered, you will move with hesitation. You'll doubt, you'll misstep, you'll freeze when you should act. That's why learning to cut off the inner noise is not optional. It's essential. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the absence of confusion. When your inner world is still, everything becomes clear. You hear more, not less. You see more, not less. The answers were always there. You just couldn't hear them over the noise. To silence the mind is to give space for your true self to rise, unclouded, unaffected by the whirlwind of thoughts that don't serve you. Most people are unaware that they're being led by noise. They think they're thinking, but they're just reacting. Old memories, opinions, regrets, imagined fears, voices from the past echoing in the present. But none of that is real in this moment, and this moment is the only one that matters. So you must learn to pause, not to stop completely, but to return to center. Take a breath, not just with your lungs, but with your awareness. That breath is the blade that cuts through the noise. It brings you back. Stillness is not weakness. Stillness is not inaction. Stillness is control. It is the readiness to move without being moved. It is the calm eye in the middle of the storm. When you cultivate that space within, you become unshakable. Pressure may rise around you, but it won't touch you. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. Train your mind to observe without judgment. See the thought, don't follow it. See the fear, don't feed it. Watch the emotion, but don't become it. Like clouds drifting through the sky, let it pass. You don't need to fight every thought. Fighting creates more noise, just let it move on. The mind will calm if you stop giving it things to chase. Once you learn this, your movement becomes more efficient. Your focus becomes laser, sharp. You react less and respond more. You no longer waste energy on what doesn't matter. You become precise. Not just in action, but in presence. That precision is power. And power isn't about domination. It's about control of self, of mind, of moment. So when the world around you gets loud and your thoughts start to race, remember the answer is never in the noise. The answer is in the stillness behind it. Go there and you'll always find your way. Hesitation is the space where doubt lives. In that space, your energy leaks, your precision weakens, and your confidence crumbles. The moment you hesitate, you give fear time to speak. You give overthinking the chance to interrupt your instinct. And once that moment is gone, it rarely returns the same way. Life doesn't wait. Neither should you. When you act, act fully, with presence, with commitment, with no room for retreat. People wait for the perfect moment, the perfect feeling, the perfect condition before they move. But perfection is an illusion. It's a trap that keeps you frozen. You don't need the perfect moment. You only need clarity. And clarity does not come from thinking more. It comes from trusting what you already know. You train, you prepare, you sharpen your tools. But when the moment comes, you must let go of all preparation and move from the center of yourself. The strike must be spontaneous, not rehearsed. The decision must come from stillness, not from noise. Overthinking is like standing in a burning building and analyzing the fire, instead of getting out. The more you analyze, the more the fire grows. Action cuts through confusion. It brings feedback. It brings truth. Even a misstep teaches more than 1,000 perfect theories. Do not fear mistakes. Fear inaction. Because inaction dulls your edge. It teaches your mind that it's okay to freeze, to wait, to delay your life. And every time you do that, you drift further from the self that was meant to move freely. There is a moment before every decision, small or great, where the body knows what to do, that flicker of instinct, that flash of awareness. It is pure. But many people smother that spark under layers of doubt. They hesitate, they rewind, they question. And in doing so, they let the fire die. The more you hesitate, the louder the doubts become. But the more you act with presence, the quieter they get. Action is not just movement. It's a declaration. It says, I trust myself. And when you trust yourself, your presence commands respect, even in silence. Train your mind to respond immediately, not with panic, but with certainty. That certainty does not come from the outside. It comes from knowing who you are and standing inside that knowing. If you miss, you adjust. If you fall, you rise. But you do not stand still and let life pass, because waiting is a slow death, and hesitation, no matter how small, is a thief. It steals your timing, your rhythm, your flow. So act without hesitation. Move as if the window will close in the next breath, because often it will. Most people go through life looking, but never truly seeing. Their eyes take in shapes, colors, movement, but their mind remains blind. They react to the surface of things and call it understanding. But sight without awareness is just distraction. To see is not about what appears in front of you. It is about what you perceive beneath it. The fighter who only sees fists misses the intent behind them. The person who only hears words misses the emotion behind them. To truly see, you must go beyond the obvious. Seeing begins with stillness. When your mind is racing, everything becomes a blur. You miss timing, you misread energy, you confuse noise with signal. But when your mind is quiet and focused, you begin to pick up the subtleties. The small shifts in movement, the hesitation before action, the truth that hides in body language. That's when your perception becomes a weapon. You are no longer responding late. You're anticipating. Not because you're guessing, but because you are fully present. Presence sharpens sight. When you are here, now, fully, not in yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's worries, you begin to feel things others don't. You notice rhythm, tension, patterns. You notice the moment before the moment. That is what separates the master from the one who merely imitates. Imitation copies form. Mastery understands essence. To reach that, you must train your mind to stop judging, stop labeling, and start observing. Do not let appearances fool you. A confident stance can hide fear. A smile can hide doubt. A loud voice can mask insecurity. When you see only the surface, you become vulnerable to deception by others and by yourself. But when you look deeper, when you look with your intuition, with your experience, with your calm awareness, you cut through illusion. You see people as they are, not as they pretend to be. You see situations as they unfold, not as you wish them to be. This kind of vision doesn't come from effort. It comes from clarity, from the discipline to clear your mind, to be still, to listen more than you speak. It is not something you chase. It is something you allow. When you let go of the need to interpret everything, truth reveals itself. When you stop trying to control what you see, you finally see what's real. To see is to be awake in every moment. To walk into a room and feel the tension before a word is spoken. To face an opponent and read their intent before their body moves. To engage in life and sense the undercurrent beneath each experience. That is not magic. It is awareness. And awareness is the foundation of all power. So open your eyes, but more importantly, open your mind. Because the real world does not hide. It's just waiting for you to see it. The moment you become attached to the outcome, you become a slave to it. When your mind fixates on victory, you create tension. When you fear failure, you create resistance. And both tension and resistance disrupt your natural flow. The more you chase the result, the more you leave the present. And the more you leave the present, the more power you lose. Detachment is not indifference, it is freedom. It is the ability to act with full intensity without being emotionally chained to what comes after. You must learn to commit fully to the process, not to the reward, because the process is where the growth happens. The process is where the truth lies. If your eyes are always on the end, you will miss the steps that shape you along the way. And when you stumble, and you'll panic, because your sense of worth was tied to something external. But when you are rooted in the act itself, in the movement, in the expression, failure loses its grip. Success becomes a byproduct, not an obsession. There is a quiet power in letting go of expectation. When you step onto the path without demanding a certain outcome, you allow yourself to move with clarity and without fear. Fear is born from attachment. You fear missing what you think you must have. But once you release that grip, you unlock a kind of confidence that doesn't waver with the results. It comes from within, from knowing that you gave yourself fully to the moment, not to the scoreboard. The world constantly teaches you to chase praise, to chase approval, to chase goals. But the more you chase, the more desperate you become. And desperation clouds judgment. Detachment brings calm. Calm allows perception. Perception allows precision. And precision leads to impact. You must act as if the outcome doesn't matter, because the truth is, it doesn't define you. You do. Whether you win or lose, achieve or fall short, does not determine your worth. What matters is how you showed up, how deeply you were present, how true you were to yourself in the doing. That's the real measure. And paradoxically, when you stop obsessing over results, you often get better ones, because you are no longer tense, no longer forcing. You are simply in rhythm, and rhythm is where mastery lives. So when you train with purpose, but let go of the finish line. When you fight with everything you have, but don't attach your identity to the outcome. Be fully in the moment, and the moment will take care of you. Chase nothing, resist nothing, simply become what the moment demands, and you will never lose. The world is already complicated enough. Don't add to it. Simplicity is not the absence of depth. It is the expression of truth without distortion. When your mind is clear, your actions are clean. When your movements are simple, they carry force. The more complex you make things, the more you divide your attention, and divided attention is weak. The goal is not to show how much you know, but how precisely you can act with what is essential. Many confuse complexity with mastery. They think the more they add, the better they become, but the master subtracts, strips away what is unnecessary, removes what does not serve, until only the core remains, sharp, effective, direct. It is not about doing more, it is about doing less, with more intensity and more clarity, like a blade, honed not by how wide it is, but how sharp its edge becomes. When your thoughts are tangled, your energy is scattered. When your strategy is filled with unnecessary layers, it collapses under pressure. Simplicity brings focus. It allows you to respond with speed, not confusion, to adjust instantly without needing to recalculate. And in a world that moves fast, simplicity is what keeps you ahead. But simplicity takes discipline. It takes courage to let go of what looks impressive in favor of what actually works. It takes clarity to stop chasing more and start refining less. Whether in technique, in thought, or in communication, ask yourself, does this serve the purpose, or does it just add noise? If it adds noise, remove it. This is not only true in combat, but in life. Relationships, goals, even your daily habits, too many moving parts make them fragile. But when they're built on simplicity, they are strong. You don't waste time, you don't waste emotion, you act, you move, you flow. There's a quiet confidence in knowing that you don't need to complicate things to feel powerful. You only need to be precise. Even your mindset must be simple. Don't clutter your thinking with what ifs and maybes. Be here. Be now. Take the step in front of you. Do the task with full attention. Speak only what is true. Think only what is useful. That kind of simplicity builds a mind that cannot be shaken. So simplify. in your movement, in your speech, in your life. Cut away the excess. Remove the distractions. Focus only on what brings you closer to mastery. And when all else is stripped away, you'll find that what remains is more than enough. The mind is a powerful tool, but if you don't master it, it will master you. It whispers doubts, stirs fear, drags you into the past, and worries about futures that haven't even happened. It tells you to wait when you need to act, and to act when you should be still. Left unchecked, the mind becomes the loudest voice in the room, even when silence is required. And the danger is, it wears your voice, so you begin to believe everything it says. But you must understand, you are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes them. And unless you take control, the mind will rule over your life like a tyrant in disguise. You cannot allow your mind to run wild and expect peace. Just like a wild horse must be trained before it can carry you anywhere meaningful, your mind must be disciplined before it can serve you. Not by force, not by suppression, but by awareness. Begin by watching it. Step back and listen to what it says. Does it speak truth, or does it repeat old fears? Does it support your purpose, or sabotage your progress? If you are not choosing your thoughts, then you are being led by them. And anything that leads you without your permission has power over you. Every time you react without thinking, every time you follow a fear without questioning it, you reinforce its control. But when you pause, even for a breath, and observe what is rising within you, you create space. In that space, you are free to choose. And choice is where your true strength lives. That is the difference between the one who is ruled by emotion and the one who moves with intention. Control does not mean suppression. It means clarity. It means knowing when to listen to your mind and when to quiet it. Some thoughts are useful. They guide, they warn, they teach. Others are noise, habits of fear, doubt, comparison. You must learn to separate the two. Keep what sharpens you. Discard what dulls you. This is not something you do once. It is a practice, daily, moment by moment, but with each decision, each step in awareness, the mind becomes your ally, not your enemy. And when your mind is trained, you become dangerous, not in aggression, but in stillness. You move when it's time. You speak only what matters. You are not pulled by every emotion, not shaken by every storm. You decide what gets your attention, what earns your energy, what deserves your reaction. That kind of control cannot be given to you. It must be earned. Earned through discipline, through silence, through presence. So either you rule your mind, or your mind will rule you. But understand this, only one of you can lead.